Welcome back, viewers. You're watching WION World is One. This is World DNA, the show that gets you ahead of the rest. I'm Shivan Chandna.
And I'm Diksha Bisla, and coming up on the show today, a growing US military presence around Iran suggests a shift from an air campaign to a potential ground operation. And this, as reports suggest, more troops are being deployed to the region. Iran's parliament speaker, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, has warned of a possible invasion of an Iranian island by American forces, adding that one of the regional countries is involved in this plan. We'll get you all the latest details on that on the show today. Stay tuned.
And in more developments, the White House has declared new dates for Trump's highly anticipated visit to China. It was initially planned for the end of March, leading into the first week of April. That was delayed due to the ongoing war. The new dates are set for May 14th and 15th, raising questions pertaining to the timeline of the ongoing war. Is it going to last another month? We'll be delving into that with our special guest joining us right here on the broadcast. This is World DNA. Let's start with the headlines first.
Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi says that the Strait of Hormuz is closed only to enemies, emphasizes that Iran has already ensured safe passage for ships from friendly nations including India, China and Russia.
They are negotiating, by the way, and they want to make a deal so badly, but they're afraid to say it because they figure they'll be killed by their own people.
Trump insists that Iran is engaged in peace talks with the US, but is publicly denying it because negotiators fear being killed by their own people.
Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi says Tehran will not negotiate with the United States and is continuing its policy of resistance. This is despite claims from Donald Trump about a proposed peace plan, adds that no talks have taken place so far.
Iran's parliament speaker Ghalibaf warns about a possible invasion of an Iranian island with the support of an unnamed regional country. Says Iran is monitoring enemy movements and would retaliate with relentless attacks on any regional country which aids the enemy for Iran.
Islamic Resistance of Iraq releases a video showing an Iranian drone attacking a Black Hawk helicopter at the former US base Camp Victory in Iraq.
Central Command head says the US has hit 2/3 of Iran's missile and drone production facilities. Also estimates that 92% of Iranian Navy's largest vessels have been damaged or destroyed.
Hezbollah's Naim Qasim says that negotiating with Israel amid conflict would be surrender for Lebanon. While Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, he announces his forces are expanding a buffer zone in Lebanon.
US military strikes suspected drug trafficking boat in the Caribbean, killing 4 people. US Southern Command says vessel was operating along known smuggling routes. 163 killed in the ongoing US operations since September in the Caribbean.
UK government says its military will be able to board and seize ships linked to Russia's shadow fleet as they pass through UK waters. The move aims at increasing pressure on Putin by targeting vessels used to bypass sanctions.
Oil prices climbed as uncertainty grows over a possible ceasefire in West Asia, with Iran reviewing but not committing to US proposal The supply risks remain high, especially as disruptions continue through key routes like the Strait of Hormuz. Iran says that it has no intention of negotiating with the US, at least not for now.
But President Donald Trump and his White House continue to insist that talks are ongoing and they have a warning for Iran: accept defeat or face hell. Well, the mixed messages dashed hopes of any imminent de-escalation as the violence on the ground showed no signs of abating after almost 4 weeks.
Donald Trump reiterated claims that Iranian leaders are part of the peace talks, suggesting that Tehran's denials are because negotiators fear being killed. Listen to this.
We're winning so big, nobody's ever seen anything like we're doing in the Middle East with Iran. And they are negotiating, by the way, and they want to make a deal so badly, but they're afraid to say it because they figure they'll be killed by their own people. They're also afraid they'll be killed by us.
Well, earlier, Iran's state media had reported that Tehran had rejected a US plan to end the war. But Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi later indicated that Iran is still reviewing the proposal.
We want the war to end, but on our terms, in a way that ensures it will not be repeated and that our enemies learn a lesson, so they will not even contemplate attacking Iran again. Second, the damage suffered by the people of Iran must be compensated.
Foreign Minister of Iran, Araghchi, said that friendly countries have conveyed messages, but this does not amount to dialogue.
They have put forward some ideas. I saw in 1 or 2 places that it was described as a 15-point plan, but these were presented as various proposals. All of them have been conveyed to the country's senior authorities, and if it becomes necessary to take a position, that will certainly be decided. For now, our policy is to continue resisting and to continue defending the country. At present, we have no intention of negotiating, and no negotiations have taken place.
Now, the White House has said that reports on a supposed 15-point plan are not fully accurate, but also did not provide any specifics on them. Listen to this.
Talks continue. They are productive, as the president said on Monday, and they continue to be. However, I saw a 15-point plan that was floated in the media. I would caution reporters in this room from reporting about speculative points or speculative plans from anonymous sources. The White House never confirmed that full plan. There are elements of truth to it, but some of the stories I read were not entirely factual.
She added that President Trump intends to hit Iran harder if Tehran fails to accept that it has been defeated militarily.
President Trump does not bluff, and he is prepared to unleash hell. Iran should not miscalculate again.
Now, Iran earlier issued 5 conditions to end the war. These include guarantees that Israel or US will not resume the war. It also wants compensation for war damages and cessation of hostilities on all the regional fronts. It has also demanded to exercise sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz.
Meanwhile, Iran has threatened to open a new front by targeting Red Sea shipping. Iran could block the Bab al-Mandeb Strait, which connects the Indian Ocean to the Red Sea and eventually to the Suez Canal. Now, the threat comes as thousands of more US troops are reportedly headed to the region, and reports also say that Pentagon is thinking of sending even more. White House refused to comment on potential for boots on the ground, but said that it would require formal authorization from Congress.
Now, any such request may face resistance in Congress. Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace said that she will not be supporting the deployment of US troops after a briefing on the conflict.
And for more on this, our correspondent Susan sends us this report from New York.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says that Washington is still pursuing a diplomatic off-ramp as fighting continues with Iran. The Trump administration insists that talks with Iranian officials are ongoing, even though Iran denies it. At the same time, the military situation is also intensifying. U.S. officials are moving additional troops towards the Middle East, and the Pentagon is now weighing options that could include sending thousands of ground forces to operations around Iran's key oil hub, Kharg Island. So right now, the situation shows two tracks moving at once. Diplomacy continues behind the scene, at least that's what Washington says, while both sides are preparing for a possible escalation on the ground. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
All right, lots to unpack here. To discuss this further with us, we're now being joined by John Rossamondo, President of Viking Research Associates, geostrategist and expert on national security. John, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us here. Let's start right off. Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, Speaker of the Iranian Parliament, he's mentioning this, and he's not specified which country, but he says Iran's enemies are preparing to occupy one of their islands, and one of the regional countries is helping them. This is the post that they put out on X. Is a ground invasion looking imminent at this point? Is Kharg Island perhaps the target? Give us more on how you assess these statements.
Well, the way that I assess the situation is it's likely that the United Arab Emirates is who he's referring to. The immediate situation is for the United States and potentially the UAE to free several islands in the shipping channel in the Strait of Hormuz to deny Iran the ability to use the strait to hold the world hostage.
John, but when we talk about the regional country, as you mentioned, it's UAE. Kharg Island, US had mentioned that they have already taken out the military installations there. They'll go after power infrastructure, next oil infrastructure. That's clearly been another red line that Iran has drawn. And Kuwait is right across. If you just look it up on the map, it's just, I'm referring to our viewers here, right across Kharg Island, you find Kuwait. The 82nd Airborne Division was the same division that US had deployed to Kuwait when Iraq had invaded in early 90s during the first Gulf War. If you kind of just go back to how the precedent was set at that time and consider the terms as of now, do you consider that also to be a possibility?
Well, I think that thinking from a strategic standpoint, the first thing that President Trump needs to do to reassure the world is retaking control of the Strait of Hormuz and removing the ability of the IRGC to control it and to harass shipping.
Right, of course, and we understand that there's still dense fog around when and also more importantly how this war will end. The US says that negotiations are ongoing and they are constructive, while Iran says that it has no intention to talk. Moreover, it's now beginning to seem that the more the White House tells the world that Iran is desperate for a deal, the less Iran seems inclined to engage with the United States at this point, which of course brings us to the question, is this conflict heading towards a protracted stalemate like we've seen with Russia and Ukraine, or is there still a real pathway to resolution according to you?
Well, from my understanding, there's not going to be an invasion of the mainland of Iran at all. This is more or less a psychological operation aimed at causing fractures within the RGC and encouraging infighting in Iran to bring about a situation that the president feels he can control the political situation.
John, when you don't see a ground invasion taking place, all right, but then if you just look at the statements, okay, let's just talk about how US is constantly, and it's Trump who's constantly saying that we're in touch with the Iranians continue to deny any such reports. Now Trump is saying that they fear being attacked in their own country if they come out and say it. How do you sense this? I mean, I want to hear it from you. What do you infer from these kind of differing statements coming out? Trump is repeating it on loop since the last 3 days. Nothing coming out from Iran. What could be the play here?
Well, I think that President Trump loves to play mind games with the other side. So, I mean, there's probably third-party talks going on, so it's accurate that the United States is not talking directly to the Iranians. Third parties, say through Pakistan or other countries that have friendly relations with Iran, and the Iranians aren't playing ball. I think that you always have to think about President Trump as somebody who's about playing mind games and playing psychological warfare against his opponents.
And right, and while that is there, according to the 15-point plan that was presented, Washington wants Iran to roll back its nuclear program, its missiles, and also its proxy group, which Iran has flatly rejected and has called them excessive. Instead, Iran has listed its own conditions, which of course include reparations, the sovereign right over the Strait of Hormuz, and future safety guarantees. Now, of course, the impasse is clear here. Both sides want an end, but on their own terms. John, what I want to understand from you, are these positions fundamentally irreconcilable, and does one side have to blink first?
Well, this is definitely going to be a game of what we call, in America, we call chicken, where you push the edge to see who blinks first. So I think that the president does not want to go down in history as a president who lost a war. So the idea of Donald Trump blinking is, pretty slim or none. Look at what's going on now. If President Trump thought there was an immediate deal, would we be sending all these troops to the Persian Gulf?
John, and as you mentioned that, it's about who maintaining that image on the global scale is important, especially for any US president, and more so when it's Donald Trump as US president. Let me quickly go over these statements and then I'll come to you with this. The White House press secretary said that Trump does not bluff. What's the need to say it? Let me start there. He does not bluff, will unleash hell, and accept defeat or face hell. We'll hit harder if you do not capitulate. Is face-saving dictating the US war doctrine? How do you assess these kind of statements which are so upfront?
Well, again, it's all about psychological operations. The president's going back to when he was a developer in the 1980s. He said that if you have a lion tamer, you have to act more ferocious than the lion. So he's hoping to force them to buckle psychologically. I don't see anything in the near term. I mean, it could be a long haul.
John, there are a few more critical points that we'd like to discuss with you. We're slipping into a very short break. Just stay with us. We'll come right back.
Thank you.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching World DNA, and we have with us Mr. John Rossomando. He's the president of Viking Research Associates, a geostrategist and expert on national security. Now, of course, John, I want to understand that many analysts now believe that Iran is now in a far stronger position strategically than it was a month ago, especially with its de facto control over the Strait of Hormuz, and that has given Tehran significant leverage over the global energy market as well, and potentially narrows Washington's options at this moment. Do you see it that way?
Well, let's put it this way. We've been wargaming this for decades, going back to the 1980s. So don't forget, we had a one-day conflict with Iran in 1988 called Operation Praying Mantis, where we sank 2/3 of their fleet. I mean, this has been something that's been wargamed in our academies and so forth for decades. So it's not entirely unexpected. I think that the president sending boots on the ground to capture those islands so that it can send a strong message to Tehran that it doesn't get to dictate what goes on. And I can imagine what the political ramifications will be when the United States captures those islands.
You see that as a possibility of capturing those islands without really putting boots on ground, as you had mentioned earlier? You don't see a ground invasion taking place? Yeah, go ahead.
I mean a ground invasion of the mainland of Iran. We're dealing with something that's very narrow. in scope, more akin to the first Gulf War, where our objective was to take the Iraqis out of Kuwait. So this is not going to be an American occupation of the mainland of Iran. I think that the president wants to create enough, chaos or whatever in the mainland, in which he wants to see the people rise up and retake the country themselves. It's not going to be tomorrow. It's not going to be next week. It could be 6 months from now. But the president is aiming at very narrow objectives. This is not something that Donald Trump wants to do. He doesn't want to see us in another Vietnam or another, Afghanistan.
Of course, John, but any ground operation also raises the prospect of casualties. We know that already nearly 300 American soldiers have been injured. But my question is, does Washington really have the appetite for a deeper involvement here?
Well, I think that the whole strategy is to go in with overwhelming force. I mean, let's not forget, going back again to the Desert Storm analogy, we bombed Iraq forces in Kuwait and elsewhere for about a month before we committed troops. I don't think that we're going to see anything for at least 2-3 weeks of more bombing campaign to clean up some of the IRGC occupiers on those islands to make it easier for the U.S. No war is clean, or no war is without casualties. But I think that if the president quickly obtains those objectives and can say, hey, we have something to show for it, it will put his naysayers to bed.
John, it's interesting you mentioned 2-3 more weeks. Let me quickly come to the statement that came out from the White House. They've given new dates for Trump's upcoming visit to China. The initial dates were 31st March to 2nd April, perhaps, and that was immediately delayed when the war started. Now it's 14th, 15th May. That's the confirmed time period for that visit. Does that give a sense of the timeline of the current war as well? Do you see it that way?
Well, my sources say the president wants to wrap everything up by the end of April in terms of major operations. So I think that kind of jibes with everything. And the president wouldn't be pushing it back, in that time period if he thought it was going to be a protracted engagement. I think that one of the things that they're going to be thinking about is the United States goes and does the heavy lifting, frees the territory from the IRGC, maybe has some of our Gulf allies replace American forces, something of that sort.
And that being said, John, Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has said that this is Israel's war and people of the region and people of the United States are paying the price for it. And he has said this while the US has been hinting at de-escalation and Israel continues its operation in Iran with little perceived restraint. How sustainable is this contradiction that we're seeing play out, according to you?
Well, let's put it this way. There's no contradiction. I think that, it's great propaganda for people who don't know anything. The Islamic Republic of Iran has been at war with the United States since it took our embassy in November 1979. Its troops fought American troops in Baghdad in 2006, 2007. So, and it's continued intimidation. And President Trump has said for decades that he isn't going to allow them to get a nuclear weapon, and that he decided that it was the time to act, and that this is our war. They've been killed over 1,000 Americans. So if he wants to talk about Israel, I mean, they've been the ones who've been waging war on Israel all this time. So what goes around comes around, and the Iranians shouldn't be whining.
All right, John, I hear your point. As far as the attacks on Israel are concerned, every time they've had a confrontation with Iran, Israel was the one who attacked first. As far as the groups that have been backed by Iran, as that is believed, Iran has always denied having any involvement, whether it was Hamas or Hezbollah. So that's the diplomatic side of it. But as of now, perspectives are obviously going to be they are going to be completely polarized when it has to when it comes to two sides which are at war. That's an obvious statement there. So as of now, we leave it here. There will be more to discuss. That was John Rosamunro joining us from Washington, D.C.
Thank you.
All right, we're slipping into a very short break. This is World DNA. Lots more on the other side. Coming up, reports Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi says that vessels for friendly countries, including India, have been permitted passage through the Strait of Hormuz. Detailed report coming up on the other side, and lots more. Come right back.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, world is one.
WION Health Resort is unique, the only one of its kind. Experience the 4 paths of natural wellness: yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy. Each uniquely customized program improves the whole person to make every person whole. Come to WION Health Resort. Make your reservation at yowon.com.
In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures, and simple words. Backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter, because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. So you get a much wider and deeper understanding of stories from around the world, a 360-degree analysis. An award-winning documentary series, week after week, creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION. World is one. Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Prime is your front row seat to darkness.
Campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Beyond the noise and rhetoric, no election, no ballot issue too small. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. More than just headlines. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power. Only on WION. World is one.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching World DNA with Deeksha. I'm Shivan. Lots more to discuss. Let's start with the headlines.
Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi says the Strait of Hormuz is closed only to enemies, emphasizes that Iran has already ensured safe passage for ships from friendly nations, including India, China and Russia.
They are negotiating, by the way, and they want to make a deal so badly, but they're afraid to say it because they figure they'll be killed by their own people.
Donald Trump insists that Iran is engaged in peace talks with the US, but is publicly denying it because negotiators in Iran fear being killed by their own people.
Iran's foreign minister says Tehran will not negotiate with the US and is continuing its policy of resistance. This is despite claims from Donald Trump about a proposed peace plan. Adds that no talks have taken place so far.
Iran's parliament speaker, Mohammad Baghir Ghalibaf, warns about possible invasion of an Iranian island with support of an unnamed regional country. Says Iran is monitoring enemy movements and would retaliate with relentless attacks.
Central Command head says US has hit 2/3 of Iran's missile and drone production facilities. Also estimates that 92% of Iranian Navy's largest vessels have been damaged or destroyed.
Hezbollah's Naim Qasim says negotiating with Israel amid conflict would be surrender for Lebanon, while Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu announces his forces are expanding a buffer zone in Lebanon.
At least 23 people dead and several injured after a bus plunges into the Padma River in Bangladesh's Rajbari. The bus carrying about 40 passengers was travelling from Rajbari to Dhaka.
Oil prices climbed as uncertainty grows over a possible ceasefire in West Asia, with Iran reviewing but not committing to US proposal. Supply risks remain high, especially as disruptions continue through key routes like the Strait of Hormuz.
Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi says that Iran has permitted passage of vessels for friendly countries, including India.
And this is, of course, through the Strait of Hormuz. The Consulate General of Iran in Mumbai shared a statement by Araghchi. Apart from India, the statement also mentions other friendly nations for Iran. That includes China, Russia, Iraq and Pakistan. Iran has been saying that the crucial shipping lane remains open and it is closed only to Iran's enemies.
From our perspective, the Strait of Hormuz is not completely closed. It is closed only to our enemies. That is natural. We are in a state of war. The region is a war zone, and there is no reason to allow the ships of our enemies and their allies to pass through, but it remains open to others.
Well, earlier, Iran had allowed the passage of what it called non-hostile vessels through the Strait of Hormuz. The Iranian Defense Council has announced that the transit is now strictly dependent on prior coordination with Iranian officials.
Maritime trackers reported that vessels are still crossing daily through the strait, which is guarded by Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps. Shipping journal Lloyd's List reported that vessels crossing daily through the strait were taking a new Iranian-approved route, dubbed the Tehran toll booth.
Now, the route lies within Iran's territorial waters and passes between Kashmir and Ladakh Islands. Multiple sources, including Lloyd's List, report that some operators have paid Iran up to $2 million for safe passage through the strait via the corridor.
A conflict in West Asia has wide-ranging global repercussions as countries navigate the challenges posed by the war. Our Assistant Editor Foreign Affairs, Siddhant Sibal, spoke with Sri Lankan lawmaker S.M. Marikar. This was to understand how the Iran war is affecting Sri Lanka's economy. Listen to this.
You're here in India. I'll talk about the other aspects of the entire visit. But essentially, if you can perhaps talk about the West Asia crisis, how is it impacting Sri Lanka? There are a lot of reports coming in from Sri Lanka, but we'd like to hear from you about the situation on the ground.
It's affecting a lot to Sri Lanka because we have 4 pillars of dollar revenue. Out of 4 pillars, 3 pillars are got affected, especially export and remittance revenue and also the tourism. The other pillar is foreign direct investment, that is also indirectly affecting. So at the moment, the Sri Lanka reserves only about $7 billion. It's a very small amount when it's come to our economy. So it has affected, and we are seeking the support from the neighbor countries, regional leaders, and the other supporters. So actually, even this West Asia crisis finish tomorrow, it will take some more time for us to recover with the situation and with the dollar revenue. I hope, like earlier, we as a neighbor and the extended family, we are working together with India. I heard that the Prime Minister of India had a chat with President Andru Kumar Dissanayaka. I think that is a kind of a relief for us. We remember even during the last economic crisis in 2022, India came forward to support us. India being a largest trade partner, largest the tourism partner and the cultural partner, of course, in last few years they have rapidly increased the foreign direct investment. That will be helping to us. So in this difficult time also, with the energy and the other stuffs, India will help. And also we have taken as a country all the measures to control this situation. Hopefully we will come out.
All right, now shifting our focus to India, the government held an all-party meeting in the Parliament House complex to discuss the ongoing war in West Asia.
Now, the session aimed to hear concerns from political parties and work towards a common approach. And this marks the first meeting on the issue, which was chaired by Defence Minister Rajnath Singh.
Top ministers, including Home Minister Amit Shah, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, Petroleum Minister Hardeep Singh Puri, and Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri were part of the meeting. Now, leaders from other parties such as Biju Janata Dal United, Indian National Congress, Samajwadi Party, and CPIM were also in attendance. However, Lok Sabha opposition leader Rahul Gandhi did not attend the meet.
Today, an all-party meeting was called by the government on the West Asia situation. I want to thank all the members of all parties who participated in the meeting. All the opposition leaders' questions and queries were answered by the government. All the opposition parties have assured us that they will stand with the government in all the steps the government takes according to the situation.
We have registered our concerns. The first concern was the entire country is standing in line for gas cylinders. There is a situation of confusion and panic among the people. On this, the government's stance was that we are producing 60% of LPG domestically and there will be no shortage of gas. We also have reserves of oil.
The meeting comes after Prime Minister Modi made a statement in both houses of parliament on the ongoing war. He spoke about the challenges for India amid disruptions in energy supplies.
Well, ahead of the meeting, several opposition MPs staged a protest outside Parliament, holding banners and placards reading "Empty cylinders, empty promises." They raised concerns over the rising LPG supply crunch across the country.
Earlier, the Congress criticized the Prime Minister by saying his statement on the crisis was just a prepared text. The party said that the Prime Minister was focused on self-praise and highlighted claims of achievements over the past 11 years. Now, the war in West Asia has entered its fourth week. No signs of slowing down. India imports a major share of its oil and natural gas needs. Almost one-third of India's total oil imports normally pass through the Strait of Hormuz, and the waterway has turned into a war zone. Some Indian ships have passed through the strait, but the number is nowhere near the pre-war flow of oil and natural gas tankers. And India's Ministry of Home Affairs has directed security agencies in Jammu and Kashmir to significantly strengthen security across major tourist spots.
Now, the move comes as tourism in the region once again shows strong signs of recovery after a prolonged setback. Take a look at this next report for more details.
Security has been intensified at prominent destinations including Gulmarg in North Kashmir, Sonmarg in Central Kashmir and Pahalgam in South Kashmir. In Srinagar, special focus has been placed on high footfall areas such as the Dal Lake and Asia's largest tulip garden. Officials say the Union Home Secretary has instructed agencies to tighten security grids around all tourist sites. Personnel from the Jammu and Kashmir Police, Central Reserve Police Force and other paramilitary units have been deployed in large numbers at strategic locations. Officials noted that the opening of the Tulip Garden has already drawn significant crowds, with around 85,000 visitors recorded within the first 10 days. All entry and exit points are under strict surveillance, with a visible presence of armed personnel to prevent any untoward incidents.
We feel completely safe here, with a strong security presence everywhere and no sense of tension or concern. We have been able to move around freely and enjoy every moment.
Tourists visiting the valley have expressed confidence in the enhanced security measures, with many appreciating the government's efforts to ensure their safety.
It feels incredibly safe and calm, with a strong security presence throughout. This is my fourth visit, and every time I come here, I feel a deep sense of peace. I would encourage many more people to visit.
The renewed focus on security comes at a crucial time for Kashmir's tourism sector, which has been recovering after being severely impacted by the Pahalgam terror attack in April last year. In recent months, tourist inflow has steadily increased.
Ministry of Home Affairs has directed all the security agencies in Jammu and Kashmir to beef up security across all the tourist spots. We're right now standing right outside Asia's largest tulip garden, where you can see the number of security personnel on the ground. The police personnel as well as the paramilitary forces have been increased. This is the scene of all the tourist places in the Kashmir Valley. It comes after the directive by the Ministry of Home Affairs that all the tourist places need to be secured properly, and this is also a confidence building measure for the tourists who are coming to Kashmir Valley to feel safer. With video journalist Feroz Idris Sloan for WION World is One.
All right, now let's take a look at some of the top stories making headlines from India.
Mizoram's southern border districts of Sia and Lunglei have restricted movement and export of petroleum products to neighboring Myanmar over fears of fuel shortages. The measures come as supply uncertainties linked to the ongoing West Asia conflict prompt tighter controls from authorities.
An announcement by a senior leader of Indian Union Muslim League offering a free Gulf trip to local party functionaries if the candidate from United Democratic Front in Havanu secures a big victory margin has sparked a political row in poll-bound Kerala. The Indian Union Muslim League, or RUML, is a key ally of the opposition Congress-led UDF.
Telangana former Chief Minister K. Chandrasekhar Rao's daughter and former MP Kalvakuntla Kavita is set to make an official announcement about her own political party on the 27th of March. The party, she said, will champion the slogan Telangana First. Google is set to introduce a verification system for investment apps in India.
Now, of course, this is in a move that is aimed to helping users distinguish between legitimate and fraudulent platforms. The initiative is being developed in coordination with India's market regulator, SEBI, and will apply to a verified badge to registered brokers and intermediaries.
Now, the move comes amid a rise in fake trading and investment apps impersonating genuine financial services platforms. Under the new system, only SEBI-registered brokers and intermediaries will be eligible for verification. Verified apps will display a visible badge on Google Play, allowing users to quickly check whether a platform is officially registered with the regulator.
The initiative effectively shifts part of the responsibility for investor safety to the app distribution level rather than relying solely on users or regulators. Google India says around 600 financial services apps in the country. They've already been given the verified label, and the company says it is committed to building a trusted ecosystem for investment apps.
The move comes as SEBI steps up action against unauthorized advisors and fraudulent platforms amid a rise in scams targeting retail investors. SEBI says the verified badge will make it harder for fraudsters to imitate genuine financial apps. He added that the regulator has also worked with Google and Meta to prevent unregistered financial entities from accessing advertising platforms. SEBI is also expected to sign agreements with India's Electronics and IT Ministry to strengthen coordination in combating digital financial fraud.
And the global energy crisis is beginning to reshape climate priorities.
Well, as disruptions in oil and gas supplies intensify, countries are increasingly putting energy security and affordability ahead of decarbonization goals, with volatility in key routes like the Strait of Hormuz and a renewed reliance on fossil fuels. The path to net zero is facing fresh uncertainty. Take a look at this next report for more details.
The ongoing energy disruptions are forcing a major global policy reset. Governments are increasingly prioritizing energy security and affordability over climate goals. According to BHP, one of the world's largest mining companies, geopolitical tensions have transformed energy and natural resources into tools of national power. Volatility in gas and oil markets, along with disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz, they have pushed countries to secure immediate fuel supplies, even if that means delaying decarbonization efforts. The impact is already visible across economies. Several countries have imposed fuel export curbs, while parts of Asia are turning back to coal to manage supply shortages. While consumers continue to adopt electric vehicles and solar energy to reduce dependence on fossil fuels, heavy industries face a tougher challenge. Sectors like mining, steel and transport remain heavily reliant on conventional fuels, making the transition uneven and slower than anticipated. Major mining companies are also recalibrating their climate strategies. BHP has reduced operational emissions by over 30% since 2020 and is investing in renewable energy and electrification of equipment. However, it acknowledges that key technologies such as large-scale electric haul trucks and alternatives to diesel are not yet commercially viable. As a result, decarbonization spending is being deferred. The broader message from the industry is, without scalable technology and stable energy markets, the pace of industrial decarbonization is set to slow down. Business Bureau, WION World is One.
Maverick filmmaker S.S. Rajamouli's next project, titled Varanasi, is creating quite a buzz.
It's taking inspiration from one of the world's oldest cities, veritably the spiritual capital of India. The ambitious venture aims to narrate a tale which is rooted in culture and mythology. The city of Varanasi has been recreated in Hyderabad in a bid to replicate the splendor and magnificence of the spiritual city. The acclaimed director's team has been working tirelessly to bring his vision alive, recreating key ghats and temples on a mammoth set. The ingenious production designer, Mohan Nath Bingi, and his talented crew spent considerable time in Varanasi, studying its details closely. And the first glimpse of the film hints at a visually rich narrative, blending time travel with elements drawn from mythology.
What you're seeing here is our Varanasi set. We have tried to replicate 3 or 4 important ghats from Varanasi. We have had to scale it down a bit, around 20-30% in the interest of space and working area, but if you see around, nothing feels like it's made out of fiber. It's all concrete.
The film features a talented cast spearheaded by Telugu superstar Mahesh Babu, alongside global icon Priyanka Chopra Jonas and Prithviraj Sukumaran. For Priyanka Chopra, the epic venture marks a return to Indian cinema after several international projects, while Mahesh Babu teams up with Rajamouli for the first time, sparking fan frenzy. Over the years, Telugu cinema has carved a unique identity of its own, renowned for its scale, imagination and rooted storytelling. Much of the global attention bestowed upon Telugu cinema recently has been due to Rajamouli's vision, with films that push boundaries in both storytelling, scale and the state-of-the-art visuals.
Well, Varanasi, which is slated for a worldwide release on April 7th, 2027, promises to add yet another glorious chapter in Rajamouli's playbook.
All right, viewers, that's a wrap on this edition of World DNA. Thanks so much for staying with us. Short break, come right back.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Prime is your front row seat to darkness. WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
The stress of our world can take a toll on our physical and emotional health. Here, in New York's Catskill Mountains, lies a luxurious place of healing called WION Wellness Center. The WION Wellness Center provides 500,000 square feet of natural methods to manage diabetes, hypertension, chronic pain, obesity, depression, anxiety, and other conditions. We use the traditions of centuries-old natural science from India, yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy in personalized programs that help you take charge of your own health. A minimum 5-day stay is recommended for best results. Book now at yo1.com.
Campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Beyond the noise and rhetoric, no election, no ballot issue too small. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics, more than just headlines. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power, only on WION. World is one.
In West Asia, every move shifts the world's balance. Wars, ceasefires, alliances, power never stands still. From Tehran to Tel Aviv, from Damascus to Doha, the West Asia Post cuts through the chaos to reveal the region that shapes the world. Because what happens in West Asia never stays in West Asia. This is the West Asia Post, the region's story, the world's impact.
In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures, and simple words. Backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter, because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. So you get a much wider and deeper understanding of stories from around the world, a 360-degree analysis. An award-winning documentary series, week after week creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION. World is one. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures, and simple words. Backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter, because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. So you get a much wider and deeper understanding of stories from around the world, a 360-degree analysis. An award-winning documentary series, week after week creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION. World is one.
Nur